Hey, I'm Jacquie Franciulli for Gators Territory. Alongside me is the Gainesville Sun's Graham Hall, and we're back with On the Beat. Sorry we didn't have On the Beat last week, but we were both kind of a little under the weather, but we're both back here. And it's a good week for Florida football. They're coming off a win over against Tennessee. Kyle Trask had a pretty good start for the first time since his freshman year of high school. Graham, what impressed you the most about Kyle Trask's start against Tennessee?
I would say it's that he wasn't trying to really do too much. You saw that Kentucky game. They were down by 11 points. He really could play free. He could go out there, not worry too much about mistakes because Florida, he wasn't really playing with the determination of the game on top of his shoulders. But 60 minutes of football, I was really impressed with what we saw against Tennessee. 291 passing yards, which is higher than Felipe Franks' career total. And I don't say that to disparage Felipe, but it just shows that Kyle Trask may have a higher ceiling as a passer. You saw his accuracy. You saw him going through his progressions. He throws a very pretty ball, a very catchable ball. And that's something that I don't think you can say about every quarterback that's come through these doors in the last 10 years. It's really something that you take for granted at the position. And Kyle Trask has that capability. What he can do going forward, what his ceiling is on offense still remains to be seen. But for a guy who, like Jackie said, hadn't played in 7 years a full game, that was a great performance by my book.
Yeah, Trask looked like a quarterback that knew his playbook well. He went through his reads very well. Trevon Grimes' is that big reception that he had in that first drive was actually the third read. So Trask looks comfortable in the offense. Obviously, he did have those 2 picks. And you can argue that the first one, 3rd and long, the one where he tried to throw to Lucas Kroll, it was 3rd and long. You can say, you know what? Try it. But although he did throw into double coverage, and that's something that Dan Mullen said, I'd rather have that teachable moment in the first game, and he didn't throw directly to a defender like another quarterback we saw on Saturday. So it was really good to see that part of Kyle Trask's game. Now, the one thing that we still see a little bit of a struggle is the offensive line. Although they did do better in that fourth quarter, the run game slowly got better. Richard Garage spent a little bit of time in left tackle and left guard in that game, and they seemed to really like that move. It seemed like they were a little more smooth when he was out there.
That go into that. You look at how Brett Heggie performed. You look at how Richard Garage performed. One of the main highlights for the offensive line for me was really that Dan Mullen has that 6th starter that he can count on. If John DeLance was really struggling with his overall play, and whether it's due to a variety of injuries or what have you, he is struggling out there. Florida really has had a 6th guy emerge in Richard Garage, and that gives Stone Forsythe the opportunity to switch to right tackle. And then Brett Heggie, a guy who can play really at left guard and right guard, his versatility really giving Florida something to work with. So anyone out there saying that Florida's offensive line would improve through 4 games, I think has been validated by what we've seen out there. If Richard Garage continue improving at the rate that he has, I think that Florida is going to have a formidable left tackle moving forward, especially with Stone Forsythe likely to leave the program after this year. I think that Florida really has to be pleased with what they've seen so far. As for the running game getting established, you did see Michael Pirine get into the second level a few times, make some nice cuts, really kind of answer some of those questions that people have been seeing from him. He's going to need to keep doing that moving forward. Still, like we said, he is Florida's 2nd leading receiver, so still finding ways to be active, and actually had a few good run blocks, or was a few good pass blocks in there on Saturday. So if they can keep getting that from him, Florida's going to be fine moving forward. But the note about Kyle Trask, he's not going to want to throw in a double coverage moving forward, especially as Florida gets into October with Auburn, LSU, then Georgia coming up November 2nd. So that's really, like Dan Mullen said, a teachable moment. He can learn from that and get back the next week.
And to be fair to the offensive line, it's not only their fault that the run game hasn't been able to take off. The tight ends are working on their blocking. That's something that we focused on and criticized both Lucas Kroll and Kyle Pitts. And to be fair to Kyle Pitts, it looked like he was doing better with his run blocking against Tennessee. So obviously every group is slowly improving, which is a good sign for Florida as they go deeper in the SEC schedule. Now, you mentioned Michael Pirine and how he was able to get in the 2nd level. Now, we're going to a game against Towson where it's an opportunity for the younger guys to step up. And I know you're going to choose a certain receiver as a guy that you want to see more of when it comes on Saturday, but I want to see more Dameon Pierce. I want to see him get a little bit more of the reps on Saturday. I feel like he can really add a different dimension to the run game, and I really like how he's more of a power runner.
I'm with you there. I think Dameon had some good runs on Saturday. I really think he's had a good start to the season overall. That was a guy that a lot of people were calling on to really be Florida's 2nd back. Initially, they went with Malik Davis, who made his return from a 2nd consecutive season-ending injury, but I really think Dameon Pierce has kind of started to lock down that 2nd role, especially after Malik Davis's pair of fumbles have kind of hindered Florida's drives early on in these first 4 games. I think really if Dameon Pierce can up his game and get a little more use, you will see a guy who really will benefit from some momentum and some extended action being in there. Florida has really kind of developed a tendency, especially with offensive personnel, to rotate skill position guys in and out of the game, and that really can kind of hinder some guys like Dameon Pierce, whose game is reliant upon getting some momentum. So we'll see if that happens against Towson, because with Michael Pirine, ideally Florida would like to be up by enough to get some of those younger guys in. Like you kind of hinted at, I'm looking at Jacob Copeland to get some extended reps. I think that this is a guy who's earned it. We've mentioned repeatedly with Kadarius Toney being out that's a guy who should get some looks. He did get some looks against Tennessee. I think that he's going to get some more looks against Towson moving forward, but that's a guy that they want to get some experience, because you never know, he could be one injury just like Kyle Trask away from getting starting reps, and the more game experience that you can get for him before that possibly happens, the better.
Yeah, and to be fair, Emory Jones, I expect him to have a little bit more reps as well if they take a pretty convincing lead early on. I think he's also a guy that I want to see more of. We saw him a little bit against Tennessee, but I want to see the playbook kind of open up a little bit with Emory Jones too. I want to see more passing plays with Emory. So hopefully we get to see that as well. And maybe we get to see some Emory Jones and Jacob Copeland working together. I know the message boards would really love that. So thanks so much, Graham. And obviously stay with Gators territory as we continue to count down to the game on Saturday.